Okay, good afternoon. I hope you had a great lunch and even more exciting discussions. We have another very important session in which we have two very senior and distinguished speakers, scholars, joining us on the discussion on Islam and market economy. We are joined specially by Tansri Daud Bakar, who is chairman of Amani Group, and Dr. Muhammad Nouri, who is coming from Tunisia, an economist, specialization in Islamic economics. Their detailed profile are available in the book we have shared with you. But I would like to highlight that Tansri Abu Bakar's company, Amani Advisors, has been also one of the sponsors of this conference. So we are very grateful for your company's sponsorship. We'll begin with you, Tansri, with your presentation. The topic is Challenges and Achievements in Promoting Sharia Compliance Products in the Islamic Economy, talking about Islamic finance, broadly speaking. Over to you.
Thank you. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wa bihi nasta'in. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyhi al-amin. Amma ba'd. Thank you very much, Mr. MC, a moderator of the session, Dr. Nouri, my fellow panelists, distinguished scholars, speakers, learned audience, not to mention my great guru and mentor, Professor Dr. Khalid Masood. When I was young, doing my PhD, I have referred to most, if not all, of his book and article on Islamic jurisprudence. So thank you, Prof, to be with us, and I welcome all the colleagues and friends to Malaysia, and particularly to this conference. We are happy to be part of the conference by becoming a small contributor in helping the running of this conference. Alhamdulillah, we are gathered today to discuss many things. I have managed to flip through the booklet of the program. It speaks volumes of ideas, perspective, insights, issues which are facing the contemporary Islamic world and the world at large. So in this session, in the next 15-20 minutes, I have been asked to speak on how the infusion of Sharia compliant products in modern Islamic economic landscape, if that is the meaning of the title given to me. This is my understanding of the theme or the title that I'm supposed to comment and deliberate on. Very much, that topic very much of high-level perspective. I don't have much time to go into detail, but let me share with you impromptu what I have seen the two industry, the industry of financial products and the Islamic economics on the other side of the coin. And not many speakers and conferences, seminar have been trying to create the bridge between the two system or scheme and the system, because Islamic economics is a larger kind of blueprint, grand design of Islamic perspective. Even though I have a small note on that, until today, from my perspective, the Muslim economics and the Muslim scholars have not been able to put a very clear-cut definition of Islamic economics. And for that matter, perhaps Dr. Nouri can comment a bit later. How do we perceive and push the economic theory of Islam to a next level, as we have seen in the many schools of thought in the Western world, many schools of economics that govern the critical and the salient features of moving the wealth of the society from land, labor, capital, and on the way to inflation, cost of funding, employment, the well-being of the society, and all of them are interrelated. So we are still looking for a very insightful, clinical, and functional theory or definition of Islamic economics. So I will leave it that at the moment. I'm not an Islamic economist. I'm just a practitioner of Islamic finance in the last how many years? 25 years. Now I'm moving to real economy, doing so many things, try to infuse Sharia principle in real economics, in vaccine development for ruminant, aqua industry, food security, creating the genetic engineering to to create a better genome for our plantation, a better feed for our fish, aqua, cows, animal. This is the challenge of the society because the planet has become hotter, the water has become more scarce, and the population has increased. So this is the real challenges of our economy. Be it Islamic or conventional, we cannot run away from these challenges. The food security. In my recent book on Maqasid al-Sharia, which I have published last year, 500 pages, I have elaborated that we cannot be depending on the 5 Maqasid al-Sharia alone. In fact, if we are to subscribe to that idea that Maqasid al-Sharia, the high objective of the Sharia, must be limited to 5, that will make Islam very naive religion, cannot compete with the high frequency of many other themes of the world at the moment, from climate changes, from the employment, equality, science and technology, the protection of women, where the Quran purposely mentioned in the Quran that women should be protected above any other sex because they are prone, they are vulnerable to many oppression and biasness. And the Quran, in my book, I've curated and collected all the evidences to say the womanhood or An-Nisa is one of Maqasid al-Sharia among 30 Maqasid altogether. So coming back to the issue of Islamic economics, this is what I'm trying to do on the other side of my practice on Islamic finance as a Sharia advisor for many, many boards of the world. How do Sharia compliant products suit the current economic challenges of the world? Of course, the first thing is to provide what is halal. You cannot take riba, you cannot give riba or interest. You have to find the solution. وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا. Indeed, Allah has made trading permissible and riba impermissible. So we have to find solution. And that's why my career started in 1993. Then to be a Sharia scholar, thinking creatively how to create new products, how to move away from lending-based transaction into trading-based transaction, al-bay'. Then we have developed murabaha, ijara, and what have you. And from there we can go for musharaka and mudaraba, and a hybrid of equity and debt as we speak. So this is what I have done in the past. So yes, we have developed the framework of halal in the industry. That is something that bring the society away from the prohibition of 3 things: prohibition of riba or interest, prohibition of gharar, uncertainty, and excessive speculation, and improper disclosure of material facts come under gharar, as you already know, an Arabic term, al-gharar, or al-jahala, ignorant, and the third is gambling, the maisir, be it classical gambling or the modern gambling of many financial products of the world. This is the framework of halal. Then we come the framework of what is next. So in that case, we are reminded by the Quranic verse saying that you have to promote halalan tayyiba, halal which is of good conduct, good practice, good standard. Of course, the scholars have not interpreted under one voice the meaning of tayyib. In fact, tayyib is a very strong word in the Quran. It comes 2 times to reflect the attribute of something good. Halalan tayyiba and baldatun tayyibatun, a nation, a country which is of good conduct. In fact, in these 2 Quranic verses, it makes reference to a quality, attribute which is good. Of course, in our Malay society in Malaysia, we make it very light interpretation, we make it very underrated interpretation, something which is good, something which is pure. The purity comes in many conferences and seminars, halal, which is furthermore pure, which is not necessarily correct, because tayyib from the epistemological point of view, from the lexicon point of view, from the Arabic words, it has many meanings altogether that can attach to a tayyib. And it is not confined to one meaning. At one generation, it evolved from one generation to another. What is tayyib in the past will not be no longer tayyib in the current time, and vice versa. So along that point, I wanted to bring in the economic framework to make Sharia finance, Islamic banking finance, more governed, inspired, motivated by a higher degree of compliance, social compliance. And in this case, the debate is still going on whether our Islamic banking finance is halal, while not being able to serve the community. We have Islamic banking of the world, but we have still the poverty, the level of, level of uneducated in our society is still large. We have many segments unbankable in the society, and so on and so forth. I have my comment on that. This has been a great debate in many conferences in the world, in the East and the West. Islamic banking and finance has failed to do their job because they cannot resolve the problem of, among others, poverty, climate changes, and so on. The list continues. For me, it is unfair comment because the fight for the well-being of the society shouldn't be left out to one segment of the society, finance. Because finance, as you know, taking deposit and giving financing to the customer. This is the very definition of a bank. The bank cannot do more than that. In fact, on the other side of the coin, among the scholars, I'm one of them, we have put emphasis very much on zakat and waqaf to resolve the society problem. It becomes overrated and overburdened. As you know, when we make something overburdened, it cannot reach the destination. La ardan qata'at, wala safaran, wala zahran abqa. The metaphor of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you put load on the camel too heavy, the camel will break and the camel will not reach the destination. Correct me, I'm wrong in that Arabic metaphor. So we have to be proportionate to our understanding and functionality of each segment in the society. And this is a good debate, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have any solid answer to that. I'm here to raise more issue than the solution to this issue. So moving away from halal to tayyib, we have to define a new framework of tayyib. Perhaps tayyib can take care of Islamic economic perspective. Because tayyib is the Quranic term, it can address so many things. So from there we can talk about the percentage of financing in our banking in Malaysia and worldwide. As you know, in Malaysia, 70% of the banking assets are very much confined to easy banking products, mortgage, personal financing, and hire purchase or car financing, where the bank would take less risk. If you default, the bank can take the mortgage and can do whatever. The rest of the economic activities are not being touched by the bank. 30%. You can refer to any bank's asset in Malaysia, you can see clearly 70% are located in mortgages, hire purchases, and personal loan or financing. In some states, let's say in Pakistan, your permission, Prof, I have seen their balance sheet. Most of the deposit taken by the bank, almost 60-70% go to the central bank deposit treasury products. So the money has not been mobilized immediately, effectively to the society. So there are many phenomena I can pick up from here and there to show that how could we move on from halal into tayyib. A tayyib could be a standard, could be a ratio, a percentage, could be a proportionality treatment of the society, and to make it more fair and just to the society. One of my company, we are doing remittance using the mobile apps, using the high-tech or fintech in particular. We started in Indonesia 2014 because we observe Indonesians are being deprived from banking services because they are not bankable, they don't have any account. But by having the mobile account, they call virtual account, they can connect to the bank, and next day they can receive the money and send the money through the remittance using this technology. My last comment, Brother Ali, before I stop, having ventured into this journey from a Sharia scholar, I was a lecturer before, and becoming Sharia advisor, then becoming entrepreneur on my own in few startup companies in fintechs, remittance, food security, and whatnot. I would like to suggest one thing that many things we do and we lecture, we comment in many conferences and seminars. I think what is lacking in our society is the ability to apprehend, appraise, and give the meaning to the data of the society. We talk about data a lot, but we are not able to give the right meaning to the collection of the data in the society. Traffic control, the weather control, the water supply, the cost of living, everything that we talk, the right of human, the right of children, the right to education, the poverty, the equality, we are still moving in the sphere of human understanding, which could be biased. Normally, all the time, it has been so biased, as well as we are exhausted all the time. When we exhausted, our findings started to depart from the right track. So perhaps I wanted to appeal to everyone in financial economics, in your own respective legal practice. We need to go back and try to understand the data of the day. And I am reminded by one Quranic verse in the Quran, وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ. The Prophet was asked to command something which is acceptable to the society. The great scholar in the Hanafi school of thought, Al-Jassas, Abu Bakr Al-Jassas, in his Ahkamul Quran commented, Al-Urf refers to what is prevalent, what is accepted, what is dominant in the society. What is dominant in our society nowadays is the data of life. I think thank you for that, understanding and listening. I hope you have a very good session in this conference. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Tansri. Thank you so much, Dr. Daud Bakar, for a very comprehensive and concise overview of your views on the importance of Islamic finance in a broader social and global context. I really appreciate the fact that how you connected the possible solutions with the problems of environment, of society, of inclusion, of poverty eradication. And I acknowledge that the current banking structure is not fully able to mobilize in terms of the social structures. So looking forward to learning more in the following discussion. Now I would like to invite our guest from Tunisia, Dr. Mohammed Nouri, to share his thoughts on market economy from Islamic perspective. Over to you, sir. You have about 15 minutes.
Thank you. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبيه الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. In turn, I would like to thank Dr. Ali Salman and the ILN team for the invitation, and I wish the great success for this conference. My presentation will focus, as mentioned on the slide, about market economy from Islamic perspective. The main message which I want to share and discuss with you for this presentation is how Islamic countries can developing or formulating a new development mode who combines Islamic market regulation and social specificities for the countries and the Sharia regulator or Sharia rules or Sharia controls. some key question. What do you mean by development mode? And what are the existing development mode today in the world? Can the Islamic economy provide an efficient development mode for Islamic countries? And what are the outlines of this mode in terms of directive, orientations, and policies? I will try to discuss this question, the answer for this question, through the following points. The first point, it's as an introduction, is about the question, the relationship between the question of the Renaissance and the question of development. The question of the Renaissance, which asked by some scholars last century, it's still here, still waiting for the answer from the Islamic countries. The second point, the existing development mode today in the world. And the third point, the Islamic market economy mode that, in terms of directives, directions, and policies. And I will conclude by the prospects of the Islamic market economy. So, the question of Renaissance, why, refers to the question of development, how. Why are others making progress while the Muslims still behind? This is the question of Renaissance. Because Muslim world did not succeed in formulating a particular development mode appropriated to their societies and cultural specificities. How do we answer the question about development? Through a new development mode different from the existing mode, which did not achieve any development or growth. Yesterday we started a very interesting debate about the relationship between liberalism and democracy, and liberalism and economy market. So the question is there. I think the main point is how we can developing a development mode who respects the specificities of the Islamic country. The market economy is not appropriate to capitalism. And this is the important point. The market economy is an Islamic concept, is not a private property of capitalism after being marginalized by socialism. The market economy is in reality an Islamic concept because the Islamic economy is based in its essence on the market system, the market of Al-Madinah, established by the Prophet ﷺ, which is a free market, a really free market disciplined by the Sharia rules. Two important approaches, modern approaches, about this relationship between the ethical and the moral and the economy. The first one is from Amartya Sen, his approach of moral economy, in his book on ethics and economics, 1998. His approach is welfare economics can be enriched by paying more attention to ethics and moral principle. The second one is Edmund Phelps, is American economist. He wrote a book titled The Good Life and the Good Economy. In Arabic word, الحياة الطيبة والاقتصاد الطيب. 2009, his approach is about the role of cultural and ethical factors in raising growth rates. What do we mean by development mode? The development mode is neither an economic program nor an economic plan or also package of reforms. Rather, it's a set of strategic axes that must be followed in order to achieve the economic and social development of a country. It also the reference framework that is resorted to in order to define strategic directions and major orientations within which fundamental reforms are formulated and general policies are drawn up to achieve the economic and social goals. What do you mean by development mode? So the development mode equal directives plus orientations plus policies. Briefly, some lessons learned from the last crisis, 2080. Many books about this crisis, 2080, and the first lesson is to pay attention to human economics, to move the economic from the existing situation to more human economics. The second one is to pay attention to real economy, which is asking about food security and health security particularly. The interest rate system fails to allocate resources and manage economic activities. The importance of the non-profit sector, the social solidarity sectors, and the need to search for alternative financial instruments, musharaka financing or sharing financing, like crowdfunding, Islamic financial products like sukuk or Islamic products, banking products. Many scholars, experts, and decision makers are calling for a radical review of the paradigms and the rules of the system, as well as the structural reform of institutions. So liberalism paradigms are not fixed. They need to be reviewed and.
It's not a destiny.
Yes. But, for example, Paul Krugman, his Nobel Prize, calls on Western economics who failed to predict the last crisis to review their theories and rebuild the science of economics again. Many questions are currently being raised about post-capitalism and post-liberalism and the future of the world after that. Many voices also are praising the principle of Islamic economics and finance and demanding that they can be used to overcome the current crisis. For example, William Whitter, British economist, Why Economists Should Love Islamic Finance, 2015. Joseph Stiglitz, The World Should Heed the Principle of Islamic Finance. Olivier Pastre, Could Islamic Finance be a solution of the crisis? So the concept of the Islamic market economy means, at the end, the system within which economic decisions are taken in terms of setting prices, allocating resources, as well as drawing directions and policies in accordance with market rules and mechanisms within the framework of the maqasid al-Sharia, the purpose of Sharia, and the controls of Sharia also. So the market received special attention from the Prophet ﷺ, as it was among the prophetic achievements since the first day of the establishment of the state of Al-Medina. So when the Prophet arrived to Medina the first day, he did four things. The main things is the masjid, build the masjid, the solidarity, mu'akhat, between Muhajirin and Ansar, and the constitution, Sahifa, and the fourth was the market. So the Prophet ﷺ, he paid attention for the market since the first day. And he made sure to supervise the marketplace set, because the marketplace was in a city of a Jewish group, Bani Qaynuqa'. So he decided, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to establish a market, special market for Islam in the center of Al-Medina. And he said, he gave some indications, some rules. He announced three important hadith. This hadith is like the guidelines of the market, Islamic market established by the Prophet ﷺ. The first hadith, very important, is about taxes. The second one is about pricing, and the third one is about exchange. So about taxes, he said, this is your market. Nothing in it should be diminished, and no tax should be imposed on its customers. هذا سوقكم فلا ينتقصن منه ولا يضربن عليه خراج. This is meaning that it is a free market, open market, and wide market for all exchanges. This is the general rule, but there are some exceptions, of course. For each general rule, there is usually some exceptions. About pricing settings, the price of good, when Sahaba came to Prophet ﷺ and asked him to set the price for them, because prices were very high at this moment. So he said, Allah is the one who fixes prices. Inna Allaha huwa al-musa'ar. But usually there are some exceptions for the pricing, and fuqaha scholars discussed this point and clarified some details. And the main hadith is the third one, is about exchange commodities. If the famous hadith to 6 ribawi commodities, because the Prophet ﷺ, he fixed the rules, the main rules for exchange, as exchange is the main factor for development and the main factor for the wealth creation. So if we promote the exchange, we can create the wealth, and you can create development also. So this hadith, الذهب بالذهب والفضة بالفضة والبر بالبر والشعير بالشعير والتمر بالتمر والملح بالملح سواء بسواء مثلا بمثل يدا بيد فإن اختلفوا فبيعوا كما شئتم. So just 2 minutes. Okay. So this hadith is fixing three rules for fair exchange. The first one is about homogeneous exchange. No riba al-fadl, increase in quantity, and no riba al-nasa, increase in delay. The second one, adjacent swaps. Exchange items are close together. No riba al-nasa, increase in delay. And the third one, exchange with different items, free transaction with one exception, don't postpone delivery and payment in the same times. This means sales debt for debt, which would be prohibited in the Islam. So the development mode the Islamic development mode is based on two main pillars: establishing zakat and abolishing riba. The relationship between the profit sector and the non-profit sector, it's very important. And now some outlines about the development mode from an Islamic perspective. So as I said in the beginning, the development mode means directives plus orientations plus policies. So about directives, the first directive is Maqasid al-Sharia, purposes of Islamic economics, the strategic vision of the given country, the cultural and societal specificities, the lessons drawn from different success stories in the world, and the fundamentals of market economy from an Islamic perspective. The Maqasid of Islamic economy are six. I developed in my first book of Maqasid al-Iqtisad al-Islami: إعمار, sustainable development; security, أمن, especially food security and health security; empowerment, تمكين; balance, توازن; justice, عدل; and sustainability, استدامة. Strategic vision, this is very important to put in the development mode. Cultural and religious constants, social specificities of the given country, and lessons from successful development mode experiences, and fundamentals of the Islamic market economy, which means expanding sectors, expanding partnerships, and expanding sources of financing, and searching for the development of alternative resources for financing the deficit through more indebtedness solutions. About orientations and trend, the role we have to define the role of the market, private sector, the role of the state, public sector, and the role of the society, social solidarity sectors. And about public policies, we have developed three kinds of policies: financial policies, monetary policies, and sectoral policies. As conclusion, the prospects of the Islamic market economy. Today, Islamic economics is a universal reality. It is a sector that managed more than $5 trillion in assets in 2020. Its related subjects are taught in 114 universities around the world. There is an increasing global demand for its sectors, especially Islamic finance. It contains important intellectual outputs that combine recent books with older knowledge. However, Islamic market economy has not reached global attention yet, but is on its way to get there slowly but steadily. And finally, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muhammad Noori, for outlining a vision of market economy consistent with Islamic precepts. You would allow me to make a plug-in of my book here, which I will shortly present, which actually talks about the similar ideas, the free market with certain Islamic guidelines, and you'll be pleased to maybe read the book, and also it's available in the Arabic now on its website. So, but thank you so much indeed. Thank you, Tansri. Now, Tansri Daud Bakr has to catch a flight, so recognizing the limitation on his time, we would request that we can limit the question and answer session to 10 minutes. You can queue up here, and please go to the questions directly. Ali Hasniya, please come in. And ladies, please. Yes, please come in. Yeah. Be in the line, and we will collect all the questions, and we will see. Yeah. Okay. Adnan, you will not get 3 questions. You'll get 1 question only. So make sure the most important question. And Farooq Musa also, of course. Only maybe 1 question per person. Quota systems. Yeah. That's it. 1 question only. Make choice. What is your most important question and direct to the speaker.
Okay. All right. Assalamu alaikum. In our current society, we're talking about current society, where women are economic contributors, we have the Sharia product of Muslim inheritance, where women only get half the share of men, and a wife only gets 1/8 of his estate, whereas she contributed to the estate. And how can it be fair if a wife married for 40 years gets the same share as a wife of 4 months? By the way, has Tunisia amended the Muslim inheritance? No. Okay, sorry. I was hoping it would. All right. The other thing is Sharia compliant products. Here in Malaysia, we have Al-Ijara, Al-Ba'in Bitaman Ajil, Al-Mudaraba. But actually, when I compare it to my conventional loan, it's much higher than my conventional loan, the interest. So it's, yes, that's right. It's much more expensive. So how can we say it's Sharia compliant? Thank you.
Thank you. Ali Hasniya, please.
Excuse me, thanks. Just I wanted to add 1 comment to the first speaker's
Question.
speech. Okay, and then question. So for comment, for the meaning of tayyib, because the meaning of tayyib, as the Prophet said, said there is different meanings for tayyib. So it's opposite to khabis, and when we say, for example, tawba nafsu, it means that his soul was extended. So in the Quran, when we read Ya ayyuhan nas kulu mimma fil arz halalan tayyiban, tayyib when is with halal, not with other things, because we have, for example, shajaratun tayyiba or
You have to skip to the question, Ali.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think maybe the best meaning for tayyib is healthy and delicious. This is the best meaning. It's maybe my research is now, I don't know, is okay or not, healthy and delicious. But the question is that if we wanted to accept that tayyib is healthy and delicious, how we can so have all foods halal and tayyib? Because if we accept it, we must remove some foods from the markets and from the economy. For example, chips or maybe some oils or something, they are not healthy for the body and for soul of.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mustafa?
Thank you. I have a question about Islamic economics at whole, because it is matter of halal and haram. That means good and not good. My question is, what is good and what is not good in the economics? And it is ethics questions. And in this domain, ethics, we have a lot of perspective. Consequentialist, principalist, virtue. Then, as Muslim and as thinking with the Islamic, what is the good? It is philosophical question.
Thank you. Yes, Adnan.
So my question is that how can we have really large-scale investments of a level of something like industrial revolution without with a completely halal and tayyib economy? Because as we know from people like Max Weber,
You mean without debt?
yeah, without debt, and as we know from people like Max Weber that a very something which is literally like riba with a lots of interest rate, that
Got
was
it.
an important part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very
Amal,
much
yeah.
for these brilliant presentation. One brief question, Dr. Mohammed Nouri. One brief question. You mentioned, I've been following your reasoning. You said Allahul Musa'ar. You didn't explain within the frame of your analysis, I mean, the way you are presenting it, what do you mean by Allahul Musa'ar within that frame of analysis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Dr. Ayman?
Okay. So we know that capitalism is based upon the principle of creative destruction. So if we adopt, this is a Schumpeterian principle, and I'm sure you know it. I'm not going into explaining it, but how can we reconcile the necessity of creative destruction and the rather absolutist vision of halalan tayyiba, because you have to destroy in order to create. That's the problem. How can we reconcile between these two principles?
Assalamualaikum. My question is directed to Dr. Muhammad Noori. I mean, thank you for your very passionate defense of this free market. But I want to say that one thing is that because you're from Tunisia, I think you're familiar with the work of Rashid Ghannouchi, yeah, Al-Hurriya Al-Amma fi Dawla Al-Islamiyah, right? So in that particular book that he wrote about the concept of faraghat, spaces between what is ad-dini and what is as-siyasi. So meaning to say, economy falls under as-siyasi. All the hadith that you quoted were basically based on the experience of the Prophet during his time. I do not think that you can quote hadith same as hadith for salat or hadith for hajj or some other ibadat. Understand? This is muamalat. Muamalat means that it is up to us. It is it evolves with time. Meaning to say that what I'm trying to say is that in modern time we can change the concept of economy. What is the best economy for us, for Muslims? That's the thing I want to say. Thank you.
All right, we have collected in very smart questions here. Would like to start with Tansri Muhammad Daud Bakr and then Dr. Noori.
Okay. Thank you very much for all the colleagues who have made the intervention just now. Many tough questions. I'm here to answer only easy question. Okay, not the tough question, but I'll try my best. On the issue raised by our lady just now, on the he or she observed that Islamic banking products are expensive, and that will not make the product compliant. I think you have to refer back to the data for you to conclude that kind of conclusion, because Islamic banking products in the retail product and the corporate product normally based on fixity of profit, samanun thabit, and it does not up to the movement of the cost of fund. That's why for Islamic banking they have to fix the rate a bit higher, let's say 8%, 9%, the current cost of fund is only 6%. That's why month to month, installment to installment, you can feel you are paying more than your counterpart, perhaps neighbors who are taking conventional finance. That's why you are paying a bit higher, but during the process, when the cost of fund goes down, you can enjoy the lower cost of fund in your installment. You can claim back your overpaid at the end of the day. The problem of conventional finance, they don't fix the interest. They call it floating rate based on cost of fund, based on the monetary policy of the central bank. That's why when you come to conventional finance, you start with 6%, it can go up to 10, it can go up to 12, it can go up to 13. But Islamic banking will stay at 8, 9% all the way. The fruit of the product can only be tested at the end of the installment. Only then you can see the difference between the two. Perhaps you were referring to the early stage of Islamic banking in Malaysia, where we do have the money market. Then, when you have the bank-to-bank loan, we have seen that in Tunisia, in Algeria. I'm also part of Islamic banking in Tunisia, Algeria. I have an office in Tunis once upon a time for 3 years, 4 years. I observe the cost of fund is the main issue. In fact, the whole problem of our society is not Islamic or conventional, the cost of fund that we need to address moving forward. I think Tayyib, without going into the detail, I think we need to do more research, to do more big data analytics. What does Tayyib means in every society, in every generation? That's why it comes in the form of nakirah. Zakarallahu tayyiba nakiratan. So that we can use our own ijtihad to really understand. And ya'kulun fi hadhil ayah, in this verse, does not refer to food consumption. It refers to many other activities. Ya'kulun in the Quran does not refer to eating. It refers to behavioral attitude of human being. in many other ayah in the Quran. So I will not touch on that. I'm new. I'm doing my own big data analytic on tayyib. Inna Allah tayyibu la yaqbalu illa tayyiba. There are many hundreds and thousands of references to tayyib. I don't think healthy and delicious could be the most interpretation, because we have to make it beyond the food industry. Halal over here is about risk, it's about activities, it's about procurement policy, it's about arm's length, it's about how to create the wealth. Everything come under tayyib. Good and bad, very good question just now, and relate to your last question about the nas of the Quran, the hadith. I think this is something Imam Shafi'i in his Risalah was saying, that when the Prophet said something, Prophet said in the siyaq, in the context of something. The problem of our scholars, our society, even the companions themselves, they narrated the hadith without the context of the hadith. And Ar-Risalah, Imam Shafi'i has devoted about 5 pages to explain the problem of our ikhtilaf, disagreement, because we have not come across to the context of the hadith. And some companies came late, they just listened the answer, not the question. Some of them listened the question and the answer, never narrated the question, narrated the answer, as mentioned by Imam Shafi'i in his Salah. So I think we need to, like taxation and whatnot, we need to open up the mind. And in our tradition, we say this is the qa'idah, this is the principle, we have to create exception. Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim was saying, there's no exception in Islam. This is a principle, this is also another principle. In his fatwa, this is my point of view. In istisna, people saying you cannot say something which is not inexistent, but you can do under exception, istisna in the Hanafi school of thought. He was saying it's wrong, because by al-ma'dum halal, by al-mawjud is also permissible, and both of them are very much of their own principle. I think the issue of large-scale investment is a very big topic. I think the problem of our Islamic society, the money is not coming to our society because so many things. Compliance, corruption, non-disclosure, accounting treatment. How many of us are adopting IFRS, for example, mark-to-market? So many things. So we have to check back our own balance sheet, our own behavior to remove, so that the big money of the world will come to our country. And the last point before I leave to Dr. Nouri about the disruption. I think this is very important. In Malaysia, let me share a problem. We are planting palm oil trees everywhere in Malaysia. And palm oil is a godsend tree, because from the palm oil, we can create about 1,000 byproducts. From the shampoo, from the margarine, from the milk, everything comes from the palm oil. And we have to deforest. We have to cut the trees to plant the palm oil. And the Western are not happy with us. But in my book, my book, I was saying that we have to balance. You mentioned about the maqasid of balance. We have to balance between the movement of green and the movement of grain to eat. And this is very important. How you balance between the grain and the green. And this is sometimes you have to destroy to build. And you have to build the properties and the farming site and what have you. So this is the matter of big data again. The people are increasing in population. The food are scarce. The food are scarce nowadays, gentlemen. The fish never grow big, and we have to put the technology and so on and so forth. I'm in the field of food security, so I can see the data every single day. How the water is being depleting, how the fish being depleting, how everything being depleting due to weather, illness, viruses, bacteria. So it is the challenge of the real economy as we are trying to promote. And thank you very much for the time. Thank you for your intervention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dawood Bakr. And Dr. Nouri, would you like to respond to some of those questions?
Yes, I would prefer to respond in Arabic, and Dr. Ayman will translate if you don't mind.
I don't mind if I can.
The Sharia
okay.
and the...
So, because there are some specific questions about some points, very important points. The first one is about halal, the good and the not good in the Islamic economics. الحلال والحرام، إن الحلال بين وإن الحرام بين وبينهما أمور مشتبهات لا يعلمهن كثير من الناس. الحديث يعرفه الجميع. في المعاملات الإسلامية المالية الإسلامية كل شيء حلال. 95% من المواد حلال إلا 5% تقريبا إلا 5%.
So we began with the hadith for the Prophet. Halal is clear and haram is clear, and between these there are things that are in another category called mutashabihat. I will not venture to translate that word. The professor says that in Islamic dealings, most of the things, 95%, are halal actually, and only 5% fall in the category of haram.
نعم تماما. ولذلك حديث الأصناف الربوية الستة اللي هو يسمى حديث أم السنة في فقه المعاملات، مثل حديث أم السنة في فقه العبادات حديث سيدنا عمر. أم السنة في فقه المعاملات هو حديث الأصناف الربوية الستة الذي حدد فيه النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام الأصناف السلع والمواد. 3 أصناف. قال الصنف الأول هو الأصناف الربوية الستة، والصنف الثاني النقود، والصنف الثاني هو السلع، والصنف الثالث هو بقية السلع.
So that's difficult, my friend. The hadith the professor mentioned in his presentation about the different forms of riba, the 6 different forms of riba. This hadith gives a classification of 3 kinds of product. The first one is money, right?
Yes, money products.
Money products. The second one is exchanges in the same product. Is
commodities products?
Commodity products.
Food.
And the second, the third,
the rest of commodities.
What remains?
You should continue in English, maybe. We also have
you say?
So in this hadith, there is three classes. The first one is money products. The second one is food products, and the third is the rest of commodities. So the rest of commodities represents around 95%. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said the prohibition concerns only the money products, gold and silver and modern money today, and the food products, wheat, barley, and salt and dates, and some more added products by scholars like sugar and like rice, and the rest of commodities. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فإن اختلفوا, if they're different, فإن اختلفوا فبيعوا كما شئتم. حرية الشراء والبيع. The free pricing fixed. You can fix the price as convenience between the buyer and the seller. Is it?
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. So الحديث هذا الحديث فيه 3 قواعد. Very important. 3 قواعد. 3 rules. The first rule is مبادلة المتماثلين، ومبادلة المتقاربين، ومبادلة المختلفين.
Exchange of same product, exchange of similar products, and exchange of different products.
Closer products
similar.
And different products. The similar products, no riba al-fadl, no increase in quantity, no increase in delay, no riba al-nasa. The closer the products, adjusted swaps, is only and prohibition is no increase in delay.
Sorry, Dr. Nouri, actually, our Dr. Tansri has to catch a flight, so maybe you can quickly summarize some of the questions.
So the second about the pricing, إن الله هو المسعر. إن الله هو المسعر.
المسعر أستاذ.
المسعر.
يسير. مسعر.
هي المسعر، نعم.
مسعر.
No, المسعر. Means that the pricing setting price
fixer. Yeah.
is not the roles of the state.
Yeah.
Is not the role of the government. It's a free market, free market and open market. It's like the invisible hand for Adam Smith. But invisible hand for Adam Smith, it's a human hand. But the invisible hand of Islam is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who can put the people, arrange together the price with law of offer and demand.
There was one
and finally,
yeah. There was one last question about the rights of women in inheritance. If any of you would like to respond to that question, inequality in terms of women rights.
This is a difficult question, right?
Of course.
Okay. I mean, let me speak, my own observation of the maqasid al-sharia. Very sensitive issue. When it comes to inheritance, people will be talking until the cows come back, because very hot and discussion. From my perspective, I could be wrong. I have a teacher over here, Professor Khalid Masoud. Islam encourages us to manage our wealth freely when you are living. When you are still living, you can give whatever. Give to your wife, give to your daughters, give to neighbors, your teachers, as you like. The same good to zakat. You have the money, spend the money. Waqaf, sadaqah, infaq, what have you. This is something you have to do. But after 1 year, you have some extra money, surplus or an-nisab, al-muktamil, the good nisab, you have to pay zakat. Zakat is by default, not by design. You have to spend first. يَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ قُلِ الْعَفْوَ. You have to spend first. Al-Alfa in Fadl, you have to spend what is excess. You spend. After 1 year, you still rich, pay zakat by default. Sometimes it's better to spend than to pay zakat. Zakat is only once a year, but spending is every day to help the society. The same goes to inheritance. If you are still living, do whatever with your money. But when you die, the law of divine comes in. You cannot interfere anymore. It's up to the social, discussion and whatnot. And we cannot change that, 2-to-1 kind of formula. In Malaysia, we have developed, in fact, we are taking that from the Maliki school of thought, not even Shafi school of thought. In the Maliki school of thought, they can do what they call irsat or trust concept. They were saying that trust is taken from the word irsat. We can create hibah. We can create an irrevocable gift after the death. But I'm not seeing that in many parts of the world, even in Morocco, in Tunis, or in Saudi Arabia. But in Malaysia, we can create a hibah. And hibah can be given to some of the beneficiaries of inheritance, but very disputable at the moment. But we have to create some ijtihad. But we cannot interfere in the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you have, when you have died and you pass from this world. You have to submit for a reason that Allah knows more than we know. So you have to submit to that freely and willingly. But before you die, you can do whatever with your property to anyone you like or you don't like. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Daud Bakar. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed Noori. I wish we have more time for continued discussion. I'm sure there's a lot of interest, but we have thoroughly enjoyed from this conversation. Let's join the round of applause. I pass over to Sally to conclude. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ali Salman, Tan Sri Muhammad Daud Bakar, and Dr. Muhammad Noori for the insightful session. Kindly remain on the stage. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Ali Salman to deliver the token of appreciation.
Can we have a group photo?
Thank you, Mr. Ali Salman.